What I want to teach you today is that literary essayists often write to think and grow ideas about more than one text at a time, pushing themselves to do the work of comparing and contrasting similar ideas across different texts. I know you've done work like this before. You have written compare and contrast essays. You'll try flash drafting one tomorrow, but today I want to show you the kinds of thinking and notebook work you might do to set yourselves up. First, you will probably want to start with naming the themes you see in both texts to give you a starting point. And then you will pick a theme to compare that feels kind of similar in both texts. Next, you'll definitely want to write long and use your writing to help you figure out what you're really trying to say. This means you need to draw on any tools or strategies you already know to keep yourself writing and keep your thinking flowing. Watch me go through these steps with my own text and look for tools that I'm using to push my thinking. Okay, so first I want to talk about the themes in both. I know that one theme, one I already wrote about in All Summer in a Day, is that when people can't get over their own pain, they wind up hurting others. Does that seem to fit this poem? Let me reread it quickly now. I'm going to quickly skim the poem. You know, I don't really see that same theme here. But last night when I was reading this poem, I was thinking that one theme in this new text is that people often want what they can't have, like how in the poem it says, short man, large dream. The poem is about wanting something bigger than what we have. That actually feels sort of similar to All Summer in a Day. So even though these texts are different in some ways, I think I can compare how they address this theme. The next step is to write long about how those themes seem the same and different in the two texts. Let me show you what I did, and you can study this to see what moves you might make in your own writing. Look for the things I'm doing to keep myself writing and to push my thinking. Both texts share the idea that people sometimes want what they can't have and that this hurts. For example, in All Summer in a Day, the kids desperately want a break from the unending rain, but they don't believe it will really happen. Similarly, in the poem If Only We Had Taller Ben, the speaker wants to achieve something big, to explore the sky, but he's not tall enough. This makes me think that in both texts, there is a really intense desire for what you cannot have. You see what you want, but you can't quite touch it. I think that is a difference in these texts. In All Summer in a Day, the desire for what you cannot have makes the children mean. But in the poem, this desire makes the speaker a dreamer and kind of ambitious. So now I'm thinking that what's true in both texts is that in life, desperately wanting something you can imagine but can't reach can push you to do things you normally wouldn't do, either negatively or positively. I asked you to look for what I did to try to push my thinking. Were there thought prompts or transition phrases you noticed that I used? Were there certain ways of thinking you saw evidence of? I want you to pause the video and jot your thinking in your writing notebook. So, did you notice that I used some of the same thought prompts that you've used before, like this makes me think, and so now I'm thinking? And I also used some transition words that are specific to comparison, like similarly. You might also have noticed that I did some comparative thinking, that I discussed both what was the same in the text and what was different about them. And I pushed myself to change my mind and to try out different ideas in my entry, not just sticking to the one that I first thought. Writers, now it's your turn. We're going to get started thinking about and naming the themes in your comparison text. Go back to the lesson platform for the next activity.